Today we will study meaning of consumption, type of consumption and consumption function. Consumption can be defined as consumption is that expenditure which is occur on purchasing consumer goods and services by the consumer to fulfill his needs and wants. For example, a consumer purchased mobile of rupees 12,000. This 12,000 is the expenditure of the consumer. It is also known as consumption of the consumer because consumer spent 12,000 rupees on purchasing consumer goods, that is mobile. So the expenditure incurred by the consumer on purchasing mobile is known as consumption. Another example of consumption is that suppose consumer recharge this mobile of rupees 1000. It means consumer purchase communication service of rupees 1000. It is also the consumption of the consumer because consumption is that expenditure which is occur on purchasing services. In this example, consumer purchased communication service of rupees 1000. So 1000 is the consumption of the consumer. So we can define consumption as consumption is that expenditure which is occur on purchasing goods, which is occur on purchasing services by the consumer to fulfill his needs and wants. It can also be defined as consumption is the final expenditure made by the individuals or consumer or household or government on purchasing goods and services to directly satisfy the current personal needs and wants. Okay? So consumption is that expenditure which is occur on purchasing goods and services by the consumer to fulfill his needs or to satisfy the wants. It is known as consumption. There are two types of consumption: autonomous consumption and induced consumption. Autonomous consumption is that type of consumption in which amount of consumption remain same. Either our income increase or decrease, but the amount of consumption is remain same. It can be further explained with the help of suitable example. In this consumption schedule, our income is 0 and consumption is 20. Our income increased from 0 to 40, but consumption remains same, that is 20. Income further increased from 40 to 80 rupees, but consumption still remains same, that is 20. So consumption is remain same, that is 20 rupees, but income is continuously increased from 0 to 40, 40 to 80. In this way, autonomous consumption is that consumption in which amount of consumption remains same, either income increases or income decreases. Autonomous consumption can be further explained with the help of diagram. In this diagram, we take income on x-axis and consumption on y-axis. Our consumption is 20 and income is 0. The first point is point A, which lies on y-axis because our income is 0 and consumption is 20. Now income increased from 0 to 40, but consumption remains same, that is 20. The second point is point B. This point B is above the level of income of rupees 40. And this point B is in front of the consumption of rupees 20. Here income is 80 and consumption is 20. income is 80 and consumption is 20. It is point C. When we join these 3 points, we have a curve. It is known as consumption curve. This consumption curve is parallel to x-axis because amount of consumption is remain same. So autonomous consumption is that type of consumption in which amount of consumption is remain same, either income increases or decreases. Autonomous consumption curve is parallel to x-axis because amount of consumption remain same at different level of income. Autonomous consumption can also be defined as autonomous consumption is that expenditure which is required to fulfill basic need. It can also be defined as the consumption at zero level of income is also known as autonomous consumption. In this consumption schedule, the zero level of at zero level of income, our consumption is 20. So 20 is autonomous consumption. The consumption at zero level of income is also known as autonomous consumption. In this way, autonomous consumption can be defined in 3 ways. The first one is autonomous consumption is that type of consumption in which amount of consumption remains same, either income increases or decreases. In other way, autonomous consumption is that expenditure which is required to fulfill basic needs. In other words, the consumption at zero level of income is also known as autonomous consumption. In this example, 20 rupees is the autonomous consumption at zero level of income. Autonomous consumption is denoted by C bar, or it is also denoted by a small letter A. The second type of consumption is induced consumption. Induced consumption is that consumption which is depend upon level of income. Whenever income increase, consumption will also increase. Whenever income decrease, consumption will also decrease. Okay? Whenever income increase, consumption will also increase. Whenever income decreases, consumption will also decreases. Both income and consumption move in the same direction. There is a direct relationship between income and consumption. It is known as induced consumption. So induced consumption is that consumption in which amount of consumption is depend upon income. If our income increases, consumption will also increases. If our income decreases, consumption will also decreases. Both move in the same direction. Income and consumption both are increase, both are decrease simultaneously. It shows direct relationship between income and consumption. This induced consumption can be further explained with the help of suitable example. In this consumption schedule, our income increased from 0 to 40 and consumption increased from 20 rupees to 50 rupees. Similarly, our income increased from 40 rupees to 80 rupees and consumption further increased from 50 rupees to 80 rupees. In this way, income and consumption both are increased simultaneously. It shows direct relationship between income and consumption. Due to this direct relationship, the consumption curve will be upward sloping curve. It can be explained with the help of this diagram. In this diagram, we take income on x-axis and consumption on y-axis. Our consumption is 20 at zero level of income. So point A lies on y-axis Whenever income is 40, consumption is 50. Whenever income is 40, consumption is 50. It is second point. Point B. Whenever income is 80, consumption is also 80. Our income is 80, consumption is also 80. It is point C. When we join these 3 points, we have a curve. This curve is known as consumption curve, and this consumption curve is upward sloping curve because there is a direct relationship between income and consumption. Okay. In short, induced consumption is that type of consumption in which consumption increase due to increase in income, consumption decrease due to decrease in income. It shows direct relationship between income and consumption. Due to this direct relationship, the consumption curve is upward sloping curve through y-axis. Induced consumption is denoted by capital letter C. Our next topic is consumption function. Consumption function is similar to induced consumption. Consumption function can be defined as consumption function is the functional relationship between income and consumption. Functional relationship means direct relationship between income and consumption. If our income increase, consumption will also increase. If our income decrease, consumption will also decrease. It shows direct relationship or functional relationship between income and consumption. Consumption function can be written as C is equal to Fy. In this equation, C is induced consumption and this C is dependent variable. Why C is dependent variable? Actually, this consumption is depend upon income. That is why consumption is dependent variable. If our income increase, then consumption will increase. If our income decrease, then consumption will decrease. It means consumption is depend upon income. So consumption is dependent variable. But in this equation, income is independent variable because income is not depend upon consumption. In this equation, income is not depend upon consumption. That's why income is independent variable and consumption is dependent variable. In short, consumption function expresses the functional relationship between income and consumption. Functional relationship means direct relationship between income and consumption. Whenever income increase, consumption will also increase. Whenever income decrease, consumption will also decrease. It shows direct relationship between income and consumption. Due to this direct relationship, the consumption curve is upward sloping curve as shown in this diagram. This example is suitable for consumption function also. Okay, in this example, our income increased from 0 to 40, consumption increased from 20 to 50. Similarly, income increased from 40 to 80, consumption is also increased from 50 rupees to 80 rupees. Both are increased simultaneously. It shows direct relationship between income and consumption. Okay, consumption function can also be written as in another equation. The second equation is C is equal to C bar plus B1. In this equation, C refers to induced consumption. Induced consumption is that consumption which is dependent upon income. When income increase, consumption increase. When income decrease, consumption decrease. Okay. C refers to induced consumption. In this equation, C bar stands for autonomous consumption. Autonomous consumption is that type of consumption in which amount of consumption remains same, either income increases or decreases. Y refers to income, level of income. B, small b, stands for MPC. The full form of MPC is marginal propensity to consume. Marginal propensity to consume can be defined as MPC is the ratio of change in consumption and change in income. It can also be written as delta C upon delta Y. Delta C means change in consumption, delta Y means change in income. This MPC can be further explained with the help of numerical example. In this consumption schedule, our income increased from 0 to 40. It means our income increased by 40 rupees. Delta Y is 40. Denominator is 40 rupees. And our consumption increased from 20 rupees to 50 rupees. It means our consumption increased by 30 rupees. So delta C is 30. When we divide both numerator and denominator by 10, we will get the fraction 3 upon 4. 3 upon 4 can be written as 3:4. So 3:4, it is the ratio of change in consumption and change in income. In this way, MPC is the ratio of change in consumption and change in income, that is 3:4. When we divide 3 by 4, we will get 0.75. So MPC is 0.75 in decimal. MPC is 0.75. At this level of income, MPC is 0.75. Okay. So other equation of consumption function is C is equal to C bar plus BY. C refers to induced consumption, C bar refers to autonomous consumption, B refers to MPC, and Y refers to income, level of income. This consumption function can be further explained with the help of numerical example. Suppose we want to find consumption at the income of 40 rupees. In this question, the informations are given that at 0 level of income, the consumption is 20. The value of MPC is 0.75. Find the amount of induced consumption at the level of income is 40. Okay. We can find the amount of induced consumption at the level of 40 with the help of this consumption function. Like this. C is equal to C bar plus BY. It is the equation of consumption function. In this example, autonomous consumption is 20. At zero level of income, the consumption is 20. So 20 is autonomous consumption, because consumption at zero level of income is known as autonomous consumption. It is also the definition of autonomous consumption. Consumption at zero level of income is known as autonomous consumption. In this question, at zero level of income, consumption is 20. So 20 is autonomous consumption. We can write 20 in place of C bar. C bar is autonomous consumption. The value of MPC is given, that is 0.75. And the level of income is 40. We can write 40 in place of Y. Now we want to calculate induced consumption at the income of 40 rupees. When we multiply 40 rupees by 0.75, we will get 30 rupees. If we add 20 and 30 rupees, we will get 50. This 50 is induced consumption. So induced consumption is 50 at 40 level of income. In this way, we can find induced consumption with the help of this consumption function. Okay? Thank you.